Call of Duty Advanced Warfare came out in a really unique time in the Call of Duty timeline overall. Call of Duty Ghosts had just released a year earlier and was one of the first Call of Duty games to really have polarizing reception. And while we did a whole video dedicated to Call of Duty Ghosts, ultimately we concluded that the game wasn't really that bad. It had its flaws, of course, but at its core the game was still a solid Call of Duty experience. However, when you compare it across the entire Call of Duty timeline, it being somewhat weaker compared to the amazing Modern Warfare trilogy that came before it, it really seemed that the Call of Duty fanbase was growing extremely tired of the same type of game releasing on a year-to-year basis. So with that in mind, Activision's new game developer, Sledgehammer Games, were set off to revolutionize the Call of Duty franchise and try to make something new, even though this was still coming out on a yearly Call of Duty basis. And with that, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare was born. But was it any good? And more importantly, how does it hold up today in 2019? Let's go ahead and take a look at it. It was pretty crystal clear from the day they announced the game that this Call of Duty game was going to really take Call of Duty in a completely different direction, focusing on new movement systems, futuristic weapon technology, which worked really well in Black Ops 2, and overhauled maps that supported this new type of movement mechanic. And upon the game's release, it actually was received generally favorable by reviewers and gamers at first, but over time Call of Duty Advanced Warfare really kind of lost its place in the community, and the novelty of having a Call of Duty game with advanced movement was really fun at first, but it slowly grew old and didn't really have the same sustainability as other Call of Duty games from previous years. I mean, let's take a look at the campaign. The campaign actually was pretty decent for a Call of Duty campaign, especially coming out after the campaigns of Call of Duty Ghosts and Black Ops 2, which were okay, but they definitely had their cheesy moments and weren't as cinematically impressive as previous Call of Duty games. The game had hired on professional actors like Troy Baker and Kevin Spacey, which definitely added a lot of credibility to this game's story. Kevin Spacey's in this game. If you play this game today, that's kind of interesting, I guess. But for the most part, the story and the general level progression and diversity was actually pretty good here. It's not by any means the best and most mind-blowing Call of Duty campaign you've ever played, but it definitely was a fun experience and worth playing through it, unlike other Call of Duty campaigns that came out after and even some before. The campaign had a really satisfying story, and even though the ending of the game, spoiler alert, also ends on a cliffhanger, like Call of Duty Ghosts, it wasn't as much of a cliffhanger, and unfortunately I guess we'll never find out what happens afterwards because they just kind of gave up. You kind of get a side ending in the zombie mode DLC, so there's something there, but it's really not as fulfilling as some of the other Call of Duty games we've had in the past. This game also brings Exo Survival, which is kind of like the Modern Warfare 3 survival mode, back into the Call of Duty game, and honestly, it just wasn't really as good as Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3's survival mode. It just wasn't as fun, and it wasn't satisfying in the way that zombie mode was. And other than a little Easter egg, this Call of Duty game actually doesn't come with a zombies map or any type of zombie game mode out of the box. You actually have to buy the DLC to play any of the zombie games. Shifting over to the multiplayer, you can actually tell that Sledgehammer Games took their time in refining the gameplay and trying to make something that was fun on its own. And ultimately, the game works, but as a Call of Duty fan or a Call of Duty player, coming to Advanced Warfare, everything is extremely fast. And this is a complete contrast to Call of Duty Ghosts, which had the criticisms of being too slow, but Advanced Warfare really cranked it up to like 15 on a scale from 1 to 9, and things move extremely fast-paced, which makes the game very chaotic and less strategic and more focused on just moving fast, dodging bullets, and trying to kill people. Don't get us wrong, the movement system is really solid. It's very easy to learn, it transitions well, and the Sledgehammer team did a great job with map design, which really helped navigation in the game fit with the confines of how the game is supposed to be played. Sure, these aren't the greatest maps we've ever seen in Call of Duty history, they're pretty okay at best, but it worked with the advanced movement, so there was no impending map that kind of broke the game in the same way that we saw with other Call of Duty games. The weapons had some balancing issues for sure. The ASM-1 was awful, it was just way too overpowered and everyone used it, but the multiplayer did have some things that really worked for it. Some of the games were really fun and some game types worked a lot better than other game types. This was also one of the first games to kind of have the loot crate system introduced, and it wasn't introduced at launch, but it definitely was over the top in the later weeks and months of the game. It kind of became a little bit paid to win at times, and that definitely was a major issue in the Call of Duty community at its time. And fortunately, Sledgehammer Games kind of reversed some of the things that they did in Call of Duty World War II, their next game. However, we do have to kind of point out that they did some shady stuff with that, and that wasn't really cool. One other major part of the Call of Duty Advanced Warfare multiplayer that I really enjoyed, though, was the fact that they actually had a classic playlist for a really long time, and it might still be available in a different form, but not the original form that we remember. When this game initially launched, the classic playlist let you choose between classic team deathmatch, classic domination, classic search and destroy, and some other classic game type that was in regular rotation. This, for a lot of OG Call of Duty fans, really made this game pretty fun because all of those maps worked well as a non-advanced movement map. I, as a huge Search and Destroy fan, loved Call of Duty Advanced Warfare Classic Search and Destroy because the Advanced Search and Destroy was just way too fast paced. I had so much fun playing in the Classic playlist when Call of Duty Advanced Warfare initially launched. However, around December, as the player count on the next-gen consoles was starting to lower a little bit, these Classic playlists were getting smaller and smaller. There was only maybe a couple hundred people in these playlists at any time, so Sledgehammer Games decided to combine all of the playlists into one single Classic playlist, and that actually diminished the community who really liked just playing Classic Team Deathmatch, or like me, who just wanted to play Classic Search and Destroy, and it pretty much took my favorite game mode out of the game. While I am a huge fan of games like Gun Game, Advanced Warfare actually had one of the worst gun games in Call of Duty history. It just didn't really feel like Gun Game because it started everyone out with the ASM-1, which we get it for games that have the arms race type game type. It's nice to have a really OP weapon at the beginning, but Call of Duty just had it fun when Gun Game started you with pistols and ended you with a knife, and this just kind of threw it for a loop and took out some of the major things I really liked about Call of Duty games. But hey, at least this Call of Duty game launched with 13 maps instead of the 9 that Call of Duty World War II launched with. Let's go ahead and take a look at those maps. Ascend was an outdoor map at night with a lot of areas you can jump on, but not a whole lot of cover. It had a small indoor part with close quarter combats, and there was a map streak on Ascend that will unlock an orbital care package. It wasn't that fun of a map, it was pretty awful. Biolab was a snow map on a bright sunny day. There were a ton of indoor and outdoor areas, and there was also a dynamic event in the Biolab where a helicopter would fly in and drop a 2-floor base on the north side of the map for some reason, with a minigun attached to one of the windows. Overall though, it was a pretty decent map. Comeback was a 4-lane map with small buildings you can go inside in the 4 corners and on the middle of the map, so it was mostly outside combat. While most of the map is close quarters, you can actually jump on some rooftops, and it opens up the map for longer range weapons. Nothing too exciting of this map per se, but it was still an okay map. Defender was one of the biggest maps that was just focused on outside, leaving players open to aerial score streaks at all times. There are a few small cement bunkers here and there, and it let players hide or jump on top of it to get clear lines of sights for long-range weapons. The largest base is set in the middle of the map and has multiple entrances from all sides of the map, and there were 2 levels in the center. This map also had a tsunami, which was kind of interesting. I didn't mind this map too much. It definitely had mixed opinions, but it was mostly straightforward, so it wasn't awful, but it wasn't really the best either. Detroit was set in Detroit, if you didn't know. It had a really simple 3-lane setup. There was a lot of nice sight lines, but you could still flank really easily, and there was a lot of long-range opportunities. It was a pretty decent map, even though it seemed to come in rotation a ton. Green Band was one of the better maps in this game. It was very straightforward with a classic 3-lane layout with 2 spawn areas on opposite sides of the map, with the simple 3 lanes between, but of course with the advanced movement you could just fly over walls. It had nice wall placement, which actually gave a good amount of cover without just getting killed by long-range weapons, and the spawn areas inside the lanes were mostly well balanced. It was a pretty amazing map. Horizon was a darker snow map with a little bit of snow falling. All the buildings around the map led to the main building in the center of the map, and there was a large hovering vehicle in the middle of this building, but standing on it will make you a huge target for all other sides. It was a pretty good map. Instinct was probably the most sniper heavy map because of its long open areas. Buildings are only there for cover because you can see across the map from them, and it was an okay map for what it is. Recovery was an interesting concept because there's basically 2 areas, with the second area being unlocked after a dynamic event occurred. This map was really bizarre because it ended up being huge, and it seemed like they were trying to shove a ton of different maps into one map, and that's kind of cool in a way because it's unique, but at the same time for gameplay, this was one of those maps that was too large where most of the time would run out before your score limit would actually be met. Retreat is a great map with bigger buildings with multiple floors that you could pass through, and you had the option to jump on top of the buildings. It was a pretty okay map. Riot was a prison map that was based off of a level in the campaign, and I actually enjoyed this map even though I don't think it worked too well. The middle was just really a hot mess where you would die all the time, so most of the gameplay had to happen on the outside, but eventually people just avoid the middle and it worked out. Solar was an outdoor map that perfectly showcased the boosting ability that comes with advanced movement. The map had the most areas that you could jump onto out of all the base maps. There was a lot of buildings to jump on to increase your line of sight and open up the map for long range combat. It was a good map for advanced movement, but it was not really exciting. Terrace is a map that was built like a staircase, with the south part being the lowest part and the north part being the highest part of the map. It was a 3-lane map, with the center of the map being a bigger building with different paths leading to it. Basically, it was a good map because it offered opportunities for any kind of playstyle. Atlas Gorge was a bonus map that was a reimagining of Pipeline, a multiplayer map from Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and while it kind of feels like that map, there's real no reminiscence of that really great COD 4 map, and with the advanced movement, it doesn't feel like the COD 4 map really at all, but it's alright for a bonus map. Like we mentioned earlier, this game did not even come with a zombies mode at launch. However, the zombies modes that did come out in the DLC actually were pretty good, and some of the best Call of Duty zombie maps we've had in a really long time. I was really impressed with that first map that came in DLC 1, with just how well it worked and how it revolutionized the upgrade weapon mechanics and did something on its own that made holding out and trying to survive a fun way instead of just, you know, going Easter egg hunting or something like that. And even the other zombie maps that followed were actually pretty decent. By today's standards, we don't really recommend that you buy the DLC unless you just really want to play those zombie maps, because you're not really going to find a lot of multiplayer games with a ton of players on those DLC maps, only really in the base maps, so you can probably avoid the DLC unless you can find some hardened edition code or something like that that gets you access to it. Today in 2019, the Xbox One and PS4 still have a couple thousand players on Advanced Warfare from time to time. This was still at the early stage of the next gen console, so not everyone had jumped ship and started buying the games on the new console. You actually will find a pretty large player base on the last generation of consoles, with the Xbox 360 and PS3 having a decent amount of people still on there. You're looking at maybe even at times higher amounts of players on the last gen than on the current gen, but it's kind of subject to change. This is probably the most well-rounded player base on all the Call of Duties. Don't even bother with the PC version. PC Call of Duty in general is dead unless you're playing the newest Call of Duty game or a Black Ops game, or Modern Warfare 2, of course, because Modern Warfare 2 is still awesome. But yeah, for the most part, Advanced Warfare was an okay Call of Duty game. It tried to do things, and for what it set out to do, it did it pretty well. The main issue this game featured was the fact that it shoehorned advanced movement into the next 2 Call of Duty games and just repeated the cycle of people getting sick of the same thing over and over again. I think had Activision decided to make the advanced movement something that happened every 3 games, instead of every game for 3 games, people would have liked it better and been more accepting and looked back at the game in a different light. But because of the legacy that this game created by making advanced movement a staple for the next 2 Call of Duty games afterwards, it kind of gets looked at in a bad way. If you look at the game on its own, it's really not bad, and it's actually, for the most part, pretty fun. Even the single player is worth playing. Go ahead and pick up this game, you can find it on sale, and we would go ahead and give this game a solid B. That's it for today though. If you like this video, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe, especially if you like retrospectives on Call of Duty games, or you like Xbox 360 and Xbox One talk. We really cover a ton of stuff that's Xbox related, so if you like that and you want to check out what we do, take a look at our channel and maybe consider subscribing. We'd really appreciate it, and we'll see you all next time with a brand new video.